I never thought she'd be the one to break me. Not after everything we built together. Not after all the nights we lay awake, dreaming about the life we were going to create. You don't expect the person you love the most to be the one who plants the knife and twists it slowly. My name's Henry. I'm 34 now, living in a downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the skyline I used to dream about. But 3 years ago, I was sleeping in the back of my busted Honda Civic with nothing but a backpack full of resumes and a chipped iPhone I couldn't afford to charge most days. Back then, I was just a man trying to climb out of rock bottom, and the woman I loved watched me slip, then stepped on my fingers. Her name was Alyssa. We met in college, both broke, both hungry, both convinced the world owed us more than it was offering. We clicked instantly. She was beautiful in that dangerous, unpredictable way, like a storm you can't look away from. I fell hard. Fast. I guess I thought we were fighting the world together. That one day we'd look back and laugh about our struggle years while sipping wine on some balcony in Spain. I was wrong. After graduation, things got real. The job market was brutal. Bills were stacking up, and we were living paycheck to paycheck, mostly off my paycheck. I was working double shifts at a warehouse, trying to keep us afloat while she bounced between projects. She said she was finding herself. I said I understood. And I did. Until I did single quotes T. One night, I came home early from work, my shift got cut short, and I thought I'd surprise her. I was exhausted but excited. I even picked up Thai food from the spot she loved. I opened the door, and that smell hit me first. Expensive cologne I didn't own. Then I heard the laughter. I froze. Her voice, his voice. The rhythm of familiarity and how they spoke to each other. Too close. Too comfortable. I stepped into our bedroom and saw them. Her shirt half off. Him, smug and shirtless, like I was the guest in my own home. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even act surprised. She just looked at me with this cold, detached gaze and said, "Marcus, I didn't think you'd be home this early." That's when something in me shattered. Not just my heart, my sense of reality, my sense of self. I stood there holding a bag of lukewarm pad thai and watched the woman. I gave everything to look at me like I was an inconvenience. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just turned around and walked out. And that's where my story really begins. The night I realized I had nothing left. Except the will to prove her wrong. The days after that night blurred together, like a slow-motion car crash. I moved into my car the next morning, barely able to look at myself in the rearview mirror. I parked a few blocks away from our apartment, or their apartment now, I guess. I didn't have the strength to pack my stuff, didn't even care what was left behind. I just needed to disappear, to find air. But you don't just walk away from heartbreak like that. Not when your heart's been ripped out in broad daylight. The first few nights were the worst. I'd sit in the driver's seat, engine off, scrolling through our old texts, our pictures, trying to make sense of how someone could switch up that fast. She'd told me I was her person, that no matter what happened, she'd be by my side, and I believed her. Hell, I built my whole life around that belief. I didn't sleep much. My phone would buzz sometimes, friends asking where I was, coworkers wondering if I was okay. But I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Hey, yeah, just got blindsided by the woman I loved while she was in bed with another man. How's your week going? Nah, I went dark. But silence has a way of forcing you to see things clearly. After about a week, I started piecing things together, the missed calls at night, the sudden changes in her mood, the way she used to lock her phone screen even when we were watching TV, side by side. I remembered her saying she needed space, just a few weeks before everything went down, claiming she felt trapped by our routine. At the time, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't doing enough. Maybe I wasn't romantic enough. Maybe working 60 hours a week to pay rent wasn't supportive enough. But the more I thought about it, the more things started clicking. Like the random Uber charges that didn't make sense, rides from places she told me she never went, or the receipt I found in her purse once for a dinner for two at some overpriced Italian place I'd never been to. She brushed it off, said it was with her boss, but I remembered her smiling when she said it, that kind of guilty smile people give when they're lying to your face and praying you don't ask more questions. I started looking through her Instagram posts, not just hers, but the tagged photos. One of them caught me off guard. It was a group shot from a party she said she didn't go to because she was sick. There she was, front and center, holding a red cup, standing next to him. The same guy from our bedroom. His name was Deshaun. I recognized him from campus, a flashy type, always had money, always surrounded by people, never seemed to have a job. He used to flirt with her in front of me, and I'd laugh it off like a fool, thinking she was loyal. Turns out, I was the punchline. I started wondering how long it had been going on. Weeks, months. Did she cheat once, or had I been living in a lie the whole time? The worst part was, I didn't have the courage to confront her, not yet. A part of me still held on to the tiniest shred of hope that maybe I was wrong, that it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew I'd been played. One afternoon, I drove past the apartment just to see if her car was there. So was his. Parked right behind hers, like he lived there now. I sat across the street, engine idling, watching the front door like it owed me an explanation. And then I saw him stepping out in my old my hoodie. That was the moment it stopped being heartbreak and started becoming rage. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the disrespect. The way she discarded me like I was nothing. Like I didn't matter. Like I was just a chapter she could close without reading to the end. But I didn't storm over there. I didn't make a scene. No, I started planning. Because if I'd learned anything from sleeping in a car and eating gas station sandwiches, it was that rock bottom gives you a choice. You either stay there and rot, or you build something no one can take from you. And that's when I made a promise to myself. I would rise. Not for revenge, not to win her back, but to become a man so whole, so solid, that no one like her could ever break me again. But first, I needed to find out the full truth, and something told me. I hadn't even scratched the surface. People think betrayal is just one moment, a single, clean break, but it's not. It's slow. It's a rot that spreads through your memories. Infects every good moment you thought was real. After I saw Deshawn in my hoodie, I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I needed facts, not just feelings. I wasn't going to be the guy standing outside his own life like a fool while they played house with what I built. So I got smart. I still had access to our shared cloud account. Alyssa never changed the settings. Probably too arrogant to think I'd even bother checking. That was my first break. I logged in from a library computer, and within minutes, I was staring at synced messages, screenshots, even location history from her phone. It felt like ripping open a wound that never healed, but I kept going. I had to. There it was, weeks worth of texts between her and Deshawn. I wasn't even an afterthought to them. They joked about me, called me the hard-working puppy. She said I was too boring, too nice, like stability was something to mock. They talked about how I was too focused on being a man to notice her slipping away. She even sent him pictures. Pictures of our apartment, our bed, my old vinyl records I'd spent years collecting, playing in the background while he was there. She made our home into their little love nest while I broke my back working night shifts. But what hit me hardest, what cut deeper than anything, was a photo of the birthday gift I gave her last year, a necklace with our initials. She sent him a pic wearing it and wrote, "Still haven't told him yet. LOL, he thinks this means something." That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't broken anymore. I was done being heartbroken, confused, or ashamed. I started collecting everything, screenshots, email logs, receipts, photos. I kept it all in a private cloud folder labeled tax docs, so no one would ever suspect a thing. I even backed it up on an encrypted flash drive I wore around my neck. But I didn't stop there. I began reaching out carefully, quietly. A mutual friend of ours, Janice, worked part-time at the same co-working space Alyssa had been frequenting. I took her out for coffee and just listened, asked casual questions, let her talk, and oh, did she talk? Turns out, Alyssa had been spinning a whole different story to everyone else, telling people I was controlling, emotionally distant, too focused on money. She painted herself as this independent woman trapped in a relationship with a man who didn't see her. But Janice didn't buy it. She'd seen the way Alyssa changed over time, how she'd started dressing flashier, going to more parties, dropping friends who weren't ambitious enough. Janice admitted she always felt something was off with Deshawn too. He wasn't just some new fling, he was pulling strings, manipulating, controlling, feeding her ego while isolating her from anyone who didn't serve his image. That's when I realized this wasn't just betrayal. It was a full-scale rewrite of my story. She wasn't just cheating, she was erasing me. I started keeping a journal, not for nostalgia, but for documentation. I wrote down dates, conversations, times she'd disappear for work. I found a few bank statements I'd saved. Turns out she'd been withdrawing money from our joint account weeks before the breakup, transferring small amounts into a separate card I didn't know she had. That was my money. The money I worked for. Bleeding out hours in that warehouse, trying to keep us afloat while she played businesswoman at happy hour mixers. I should have been enraged, and I was. But beneath the anger was something else. Resolve. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to trash her online or show up yelling on her doorstep. That's what she expected. That's what people like her thrive on: chaos, drama, victimhood. No, I was going to let my silence speak. I was going to rebuild in front of her. I started cutting out distractions, deleted my old social media, applied for every job I could think of that matched my skills, no matter how far out of reach it seemed. I updated my resume at that same library every day, went to free networking events, even ones where I didn't know a soul. And slowly, things started to shift. A recruiter from a logistics firm took a chance on me after a random conversation at a coffee shop, said he liked my grit. I landed an entry-level job. Nothing flashy, but it paid well enough to get me out of the car and into a month-to-month studio. I slept on the floor for the first 3 weeks. No bed, no couch, just determination and a foam mat. Every time I walked by a mirror, I reminded myself, she thought I'd be nothing without her. Good, let her believe that. Let her watch what happens next, because I was done mourning a woman who saw me as a stepping stone. Now I was building something she couldn't follow me into, and soon, the world would see it too. The day I decided to confront Alyssa wasn't planned, but when it came, it felt inevitable, like the weight I'd been carrying finally demanded to be set down. I'd just gotten promoted at work. Project lead, full benefits. I'd moved into a better place, furnished it myself. No memories. Just clean lines, silence, and peace. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt ready. But then, like fate just couldn't resist one last jab. I got a message request on Instagram from a name I didn't recognize. Hey Marcus, you don't know me, but I think you need to see this. Attached was a screenshot of a group chat between Alyssa, Deshawn, and a few of their friends. It was them laughing about my old car, mocking how I used to wait outside her classes. How I couldn't keep a woman happy with hard work and loyalty. It made my blood boil, but it also gave me something else. Clarity. They weren't just unfaithful. They were cruel. They didn't just betray me. They mocked me while I suffered, and that's when I decided they were going to feel everything I felt in public. In truth, and without the mask they'd been hiding behind. I waited until Alyssa's branding workshop event. She was hosting it at a co-working loft downtown, small crowd, mostly influencers and wannabe entrepreneurs. I knew because I found the Eventbrite link weeks ago and kept it in my calendar like a ticking clock. I walked in quietly, sat in the back. She didn't notice me at first. She was too busy basking in attention, speaking about integrity, vision, and building a life you're proud of. The irony nearly made me choke. When she opened the floor for questions, I stood up. Hi, I said calmly. Marcus Harris. Just a quick one. Alyssa, when you talk about building something with integrity, do you mean before or after you lied to everyone who helped you get here? She froze, her eyes locked onto mine like she'd seen a ghost. There was a murmur in the crowd. She forced a smile. Marcus, maybe we can talk after. No, I said, stepping forward. We'll talk now, since you're being so transparent. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the flash drive I wore around my neck, held it up for everyone to see. This right here, I said, contains months of text messages, bank statements, photos, and DMS between Alyssa and a man she brought into our home while I was breaking my back to support her. She drained our joint account. She ridiculed me. She lied to her friends. She cheated, not just on me, but on the life we built. Someone gasped. Someone else pulled out their phone. Alyssa's face went white. You need to leave, she hissed under her breath, stepping closer. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't glowing anymore. She was shrinking, panicking. I will, I said, but not before I tell the truth. I turned to the room. I'm not here for pity. I'm here because sometimes people build a brand off the backs of those they betray, and I won't let her rewrite our story without facts. Then I walked out, just like that. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge. The truth, raw, undeniable, and in the open was enough, but that wasn't the end. A week later, a video clip of the confrontation went viral on TikTok. Someone in the audience had recorded it, captioned it. When the ex shows up and drops receipts at your authenticity seminar, it exploded. Alyssa tried to spin it, claimed I was bitter, toxic, obsessed. But the screenshots I'd shared with a few key people started making their way online, and people saw right through her. The narrative cracked. Brands pulled out of her personal rebranding campaign. Sponsors vanished. Clients stopped returning her emails, but meanwhile, I stayed silent, focused on my work. Let the dust settle. One day, about a month later, I got a text from an unknown number. You ruined me. It was her. I stared at it for a long time, then typed back, no, you did that to yourself. I just stopped protecting your lie. She didn't reply. Weeks passed. I heard through the grapevine she'd moved out of the apartment, couldn't afford rent anymore. Someone said she was crashing at a cheap roadside motel on the edge of town. That's when it hit me. She used to look down on people like that, called them failures, lost causes. Now she was one of them, but me. I wasn't a cautionary tale anymore. I was the comeback story. She thought I'd be nothing without her. Now she's watching my life, the one I rebuilt with my own hands, from behind a dusty motel window, and I haven't looked back since. The fallout came fast. In the days after the video went viral, Alyssa tried to fight back. She posted a carefully worded apology, full of vague language and emotional manipulation. The kind that tries to sound sincere without ever admitting fault. I made mistakes. I was in a dark place. I was misunderstood. But the internet doesn't buy that anymore. Not when there are receipts. Not when screenshots and messages contradict every word. Comments flooded in. So you played the victim while cheating. Integrity. Girl, you lied to everyone. This man worked double shifts and you mocked him. Her following crumbled. Brands dropped her. A few podcasts she used to be a guest on quietly deleted her episodes. A major event she was booked to speak at posted a statement. Due to recent revelations, we are no longer affiliated with Alyssa James. I didn't celebrate though. Not really. There was no parade, no fireworks, just silence. And in that silence, something unexpected happened. I felt peace. It wasn't loud. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like release. Like I could finally exhale after holding my breath for years. Deshaun disappeared too. Deleted his accounts. Word was he had a fiancée who found out everything from the viral video. She dumped him publicly, right on social media, and his real-life clout vanished overnight. Without Alyssa to ride off of, he faded fast. But me, I stayed grounded. I focused on work, on myself. I started running again, something I hadn't done since college. I reconnected with a few friends I'd pushed away during the relationship. Apologized for going dark, and they welcomed me back without judgment. One night, I sat on my new couch, real leather, paid for in full, and just looked around my place. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Every inch of it was earned. No deception, no shortcuts. Still, there were moments where I'd hear a song and remember slow dancing in the kitchen with her, or I'd see a post from someone we used to hang out with and feel that pang, the one that says, it could have been different, but those moments passed quicker now. The anger didn't live in me the way it used to. It visited, maybe, but it didn't stay. I had my closure. Not because they paid the price, though they did, but because I stopped needing to carry the weight of what they did. They lost their reputations. I gained my dignity back, and in the end, that was worth more than any apology or revenge. I wasn't the man she broke anymore. I was the man who built something better from the ruins. A year can change everything. 12 months ago, I was sleeping in my car, heartbroken and humiliated. Today, I'm standing on the balcony of my own place, a 2-bedroom apartment I never thought I'd afford. Sipping coffee before heading out to a job I actually love. The skyline glows in the morning light, and for the first time in my adult life, I don't feel like I'm chasing something. I feel present, steady, whole. It didn't happen overnight. Healing never does, but over time, I stopped asking why she did it. I stopped replaying the betrayal, stopped imagining different outcomes. At some point, I realized I wasn't angry anymore, just grateful. Because if Alyssa hadn't betrayed me, I wouldn't have discovered what I was truly capable of. That rock-bottom moment forced me to look inward, to rebuild from nothing. And when you've lost everything, even the small wins feel massive. Each step was a reclaiming of my identity, my pride, my voice. I learned to listen to my instincts, to trust my gut, to set boundaries, to value myself. I even started mentoring a couple of younger guys at work, kids fresh out of college. Wide-eyed and nervous. I saw myself in them, and when they asked me how I got it together, I told them the truth. I didn't. Life broke me. But then I got up and built something better. I laugh more now. I sleep easier. I go for morning runs by the river. And some nights I'll sit in the quiet and just be still. No noise, no drama, no chaos. Peace doesn't come with fireworks. It comes in the form of nothingness. No stress, no lies, no wondering. That's when you know you're free. I still think about Alyssa from time to time, not out of longing, but reflection. I wonder if she ever looks back and realizes what she lost. Not the money, or the lifestyle, or the reputation, but the man who would have done anything for her. The one who believed in her when no one else did. The one she discarded like spare change. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, but that's no longer my concern. She thought I'd be nothing without her, and that belief, that arrogant assumption, became the fuel I didn't know I needed. Every early morning, every rejection I pushed through, every moment I wanted to quit but didn't. It was all because I had something to prove, not to her, to myself. I found something on the other side of betrayal, not revenge, not justice, but clarity. And now, I'm not chasing love or validation. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I'm simply living fully, honestly, and with pride. I built a life that doesn't just function, it thrives, and she has to watch it from the outside, like a stranger at the window of a house she once called home. Funny how life works like that. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that betrayal doesn't define you. Your response to it does. We all get broken at some point. By people we love, by life, by things we never saw coming. It's easy to let that pain turn us bitter, to live in the shadow of what someone else did. But there's power in choosing a different path, in standing up, brushing off the dirt, and saying, "This won't be the end of me." I used to think strength was about how much you could hold together. Now I know, true strength is about what you can rebuild once everything falls apart. You can lose everything. Your home, your dignity, your sense of self. But if you've still got your will, if there's even a flicker of fight left in you, that's enough. Enough to begin again. Enough to rise. The people who betray you don't win. Not really, because they gave up something they could never get back. They thought they were walking away with the upper hand. But they were just walking away from the very thing that made their world stable. Real, grounded. And while they're stuck running in circles, chasing attention, validation, or illusions, you're free to grow, to evolve, to build something unshakable. So no, I don't hate Alyssa anymore. I don't need revenge or apologies or closure from her, because I found all of that within myself. I'm not bitter. I'm better. I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt, and if you're listening to this, if you're sitting in your own kind of heartbreak, wondering how you'll make it through, hear me when I say, you will. One day, the pain won't define your mornings. One day, the person who hurt you will become a footnote in the story of your rise. And when that day comes, you'll look in the mirror and smile, not because you forgot what happened, but because it no longer has the power to define who you are. Sometimes, the best revenge is not being who they thought you'd become,